Hello, my name is Deb Wagner, and I am the lead fossil preparator and lab manager here at Petrified Forest National Park. Today, I would like to talk to you about molding and casting. This is a process that we do in order to create replicas or copies of the specimens. We do it for a variety of reasons, typically either for research purposes or for outreach or museum exhibits. For today's demonstration, we will be making a mold of a Chindosaurus astragalus.
The astragalus is an important bone in the ankle. In dinosaurs, as opposed to other archosaurs like crocodiles, the astragalus is fused with another ankle bone called the calcaneum. This fusion of bones alters where movement occurs within the ankle. This astragalus is from Chindosaurus bryan-smallei and is Petrified Forest resident dinosaur. The first Chindosaurus was discovered here in the 1980s and received a great deal of international media attention. Nicknamed Gertie, the new species was, at the time, the oldest dinosaur ever found on the planet. It is represented by a partial skeleton and fragmentary fossils throughout the park.
Before we begin, examine the specimen for any cracks, weak points, or deep recesses that could cause trouble down the road. For example, we have a small crack running through the specimen and this deep pocket that could potentially cause air bubbles or potentially lock the mold around the specimen. To fill the crack, we are going to use a pen with a heated element and carbo wax, which is a hard water-soluble wax that will be easily removed once the process is complete. To start building the clay bed, you're going to need clay tools, a sturdy board, and some clean, sulfur-free clay. You can use some of the clay to support the specimen while you build your clay bed. Watch as I carefully place the clay bed around the specimen, filling any gaps between the bone and the clay. I smooth out the surface using my fingers and clay tools, and then cut off the excess clay to form a clean and uniform bed. In order to ensure proper fit of the final mold, keys or registers are pressed into the clay. For this specimen, the registers also double as the specimen identification number. A solid wall is then wrapped around the base and secured into place. Now it's time to don my PPE. To make the silicone rubber mold, I add equal amounts of part A in yellow and part B in blue into a cup and mix well. Air bubbles that could negatively impact the final mold are removed in a vacuum chamber. The rubber is then poured inside the clay bed until the entire bone is covered. We'll come back in a few hours to mold the other side once this rubber has set. The clay is completely removed, paying close attention to make sure that I get everything off of the surface of the bone. The edges of this rubber mold looked a bit jagged, so I trimmed the excess. I applied a thin layer of petroleum jelly onto the surface of the mold to act as a separator. After constructing a secure clay wall, we are ready to pour rubber onto the other side. Once the second side has cured, the molding process is complete. The original fossil can now be safely removed from the mold and placed back into collections. Now that we've completed our mold, I'm going to work on making a cast. Today we will be using polyurethane plastic resin and a few drops of this dye to color the cast gray, which makes it a little easier for researchers to see. After mixing a bit of black dye with equal parts A and B of the polyurethane resin, the mixture is painted into the inside of the mold using a brush. This prevents the formation of bubbles that might obscure any important details on the bone's surface. The rest of the mold is filled and quickly secured to prevent the resin from seeping out. The mold is then rotated a few times to ensure the entire surface is coated. It only takes about 30 minutes for this resin to set, and we can now reveal our handiwork. Although some of the resin has seeped out, it is only a thin layer along the seam and is easily removed. And there you have it! an exact replica of a Chindosaurus bryan-smalleye ankle bone. I hope that you have enjoyed making a bit of a mess with me in our fossil preparation lab. Want to see more fossils like Chindosaurus? Join Matt Smith on a collection tour in our next video.